Now, heads up, I do not recommend this now that I've tried a different way of doing it, and I'll show you a better way in a moment. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. Recently, a company called Resin Molds Express contacted me, and they asked if I could do a collaboration with them. Well, I'd never heard of Resin Molds Express before, and I wanted to find out more. So we had a bit of a back and forth in email like you do, and they've sent me their March box to have a look at. While I was unwrapping the March box and filming the section of it, the April box turned up as well, and that's an Easter box. So that'll be fun to have a look at too. So join me to have a look at these two boxes. I'm also going to make something with one of these molds. And yeah, let's have a look, see what these molds are like. So what is Resin Molds Express? According to their website, Resin Molds Express is a one-stop shop for everything you need to bring your resin crafting ideas to life. They are a factory direct retailer and a passion for empowering creators of all levels. They're a small company that's been going since 2020. And to start with, when I've opened the box, I am really surprised about what's in the box. It doesn't seem to be just molds. There is a really nice leaflet describing each mold, how much it would be if you bought it separately, and then how much discount you get from having it in the box. There's lots of different stickers that could be used on these projects. This is their March box, and it's described as spring has sprung and it's full of blooming fresh ideas. There are a multitude of molds in here. Number 1 is a modern display stand collection resin mold set. Number 2 is a starry night light resin mold set together with LED lights. Number 3 is the Ocean Wave Artist Collection resin mold set, which includes keychains and a large coaster. Number 4 is the Lucky Fortune Bag Vase resin mold. And number 5 is the Sweet Charm Collection resin mold set. And number 6 is the bonus. Every month there's a bonus resin mold. On the information sheet, it covers tips for success. There's a sneak peek for next month's resin box, which is the Easter one that I received. And there's a lot of creative ideas for each mold. So that's the first box. Let's see what's in the Easter box. Again, it seems absolutely packed with stickers and mica and glitter. And there was a lot more in there than just molds. So we've got number 1, sunflower vase mold. Some people call it a vase. Number 2, Easter bunny and egg plaque set. That's 2 molds there. Number 3, Easter camper nightlight molds, and that includes 2 molds. Number 4, 3D geometric bunny puzzle mold. That's all in pieces and is in 1 mold. That would be interesting. Number 5, fan shaped coaster mold. That's a 1-piece mold that you make 3 of to make a fan shaped coaster. And again, a bonus 6th mold. Now, as you can see, I'm not reading these out as I'm getting them out of the box because they're not in order in the box. But it does seem to include a lot of what is not on the sheet. Those little eggs that you paint, the wooden cutouts. It's not included in the sheet, but they're in the box. Now I'm going to try really hard to put all these Easter molds back into 1 box, and I think it's going to be a difficult task. But I thought it would be nice to give this box away. So if you want a chance to win this Easter box, just write Easter in the comments section below, and I'll choose 1 person and send this Easter box out to them. Now I need to figure out which mould I'm going to use to make something with. So I have a look through the first box I was sent. This is the March box, and I've decided on something a little bit larger than small pieces. I prefer larger moulds. I don't know about you, but I just prefer them. I've decided to use the Modern Stand Collection Resin Molds set. This is a stand mould. It comes with a base, a stem for the middle, and one mould for a top stand. Now, I had actually considered buying a mould set like this before, and I never got round to it. There's so many moulds on the market now, it's difficult to choose, and it's nice to have someone say, yeah, try this, don't you think? Because sometimes you buy the same kind of moulds all the time. It's nice to have someone say, here, try this one. And it might be out of your comfort zone, but then things can be great when you go outside your comfort zone. So the first thing I'm doing with these moulds is I'm building up a barrier with hot glue. You've probably seen me do this before on previous videos, and I thought in this video I'm going to do several techniques on one set of moulds. I'm going to build up a barrier so that I can put a different type of resin in one half than the other half. Using hot glue does not damage your moulds. It will stay as long as you don't pull it off. But if you pull it off, there's no detrimental damage to the mould whatsoever. I've seen people use air dry clay for this technique, and you can never use the air dry clay again. And I think if you don't have air dry clay, hot glue, most people have hot glue, right? So this is a different way to do a barrier. So I build up the barrier with the hot glue, let it cool down, do another level, let it cool down, do another level until it's the same height as the rim of the mould itself. Once I'm happy with the height of the glue, on this occasion I made it nice and smooth with the last amount of hot glue, holding it at an angle and smoothing it over with a very wet, cold, gloved hand. Once I've done my barriers, then I'm getting out the magic pour. This is Let's Resin Magic Pour. It's my go-to eco, and I do prefer this over other brands that I've tried because it's more ceramic. It feels more like china or clay. So this is a 3:1 ratio, 3 parts powder to 1 part water. You just mix it with water. It's quite a simple thing to do. It mixes in really lovely. And I'm going to use Ruby from Homeware Designs, which is a really beautiful pink-red colour. Now I will stress here that the colours I have were gifted to me a couple of years ago. I never actually bought these colours, and I think Homeware Designs may have changed the names of their colours. So please forgive me if these colours do not exist, but Homeware Design colours are wonderful, and you can see even though this Ruby is a really old colour, it's absolutely stunning. And I'm just filling up half of these moulds that is divided with a hot glue barrier. All the links for everything I use in today's video will be in the description box below the video. If I miss any links, please do let me know in the comments section and I will do my best to sort the issue out. I am not very technical, I am old and I'm forgetful, so please forgive this old girl if I miss a link. Now I have quite a lot of the mix left over, so I grab another one of the moulds from the box, which is the water feature mould, and I'm pouring the leftover magic pour into that mould as well. I do go around with a micro brush to get rid of any stuck bubbles, and I leave these to cure for about an hour. An hour later and I can demold, and I'm actually really excited to see this mottled pink red effect. Now even though this is a water feature mould, I think it's absolutely beautiful. It would make a great pot stand. So with the display stand set, I now have half of the mould cast in a really beautiful mottled pink red casting powder. As I said, the hot glue just comes out of the mould really easily. It doesn't have any detrimental effect to the mould. I could use those pieces again if I wanted to do exactly the same, but I'm really happy with the way these pieces have come out. The moulds are absolutely fine. I do clean them up with isopropyl alcohol and a wet baby wipe. When they're completely dry, I do then spray them with mould release spray that gives them back a little bit of oil in the surface. Not too much, and I do make sure I let that soak in. These pieces are absolutely beautiful. The pink marble effect has really worked wonders, and coating these with oil or a sealer will definitely bring up the brightness of that pink. Once I'm happy that my moulds are all nicely cleaned up, I am going to put these pieces back into the mould. Now, I know that I've had trouble in the past with other eco-type pours where the resin that I've poured hasn't necessarily bonded to the eco-type pour. However, I've done this before and I know that resin does sink into Magic Pour. So now time for the resin, and I'm going to use Estoyo resin for this one. I do have a discount code for Estoyo that is Toonpish, and it will give you a 15% discount in America and 10% discount on Amazon in the UK. When mixing resin for 3 minutes, it's a nice idea. Just put the mixer on and walk away, and I do love my mixers. When I first got a mixer, I was very doubtful whether they would work, but I absolutely love them now, and I love the fact that all you need to do is scrape the edges and the sides just to mix the last little bit before you pour. Once I'm happy that the resin is completely mixed, I'm going to divide it into 2 cups. I'm going to be putting this resin into a resin bubble removing machine, and by dividing it into 2 cups, it won't overheat so quickly because there's less resin in each cup. Plus the fact I'm going to add some colour, and I'm going to use some red resin dye from Let's Resin. Red is a particularly awkward colour when it comes to resin. Mica powders are not bright red, although there are some red pinks and red browns. I like pillar box red. So I've decided to go with a translucent red from Let's Resin, which is the resin dye. I'm into translucent colours at the moment. I don't quite know why, but I think actually on this occasion, with the other technique that I'm working on, translucent red will work really well. So that's what I'm going with, translucent red and clear. Now I'm going to mix that in really nicely, and then I get out the Let's Resin bubble removing machine. One of my favourite pieces of equipment for resin. Make sure you push the lid right down. I've set this for 9 minutes, which is quite a long time, but they're in silicone cups rather than plastic, and it does tend to take a little bit longer when resin is in silicone cups rather than plastic. But I do like using and reusing my silicone cups. When it's completely debubbled, you squirt the top with a little isopropyl alcohol to get rid of those surface bubbles that are still there. And now I'm ready to pour the resin into the moulds where the space is in the mould. I'm pouring the clear resin closest to the Magic Pour, and I'm doing the red on the outer edge. I figured that I wanted the clear nearer the Magic Pour so that it did not change the colour of the Magic Pour, but I still wanted the translucent red in there. So I'm just gently pouring the clear and the red separately and letting it do its thing. Now this resin is quite warm. It's been in the debubbler for 9 minutes. It was mixing for about 4 minutes, so this is about 13 minutes after the first contact, and it is really quite warm. So that means that the resin won't mix too much. It won't completely merge, and that is ideal. That is what I'm looking for. I then get a micro brush out and make sure there's no hidden air bubbles underneath the lip of those eco pour pieces that are already in the mould, around the middle sections, around the edges. You want to get as much trapped air as you possibly can. I then give it a good squirt with isopropyl alcohol, ready for my next stage. These are pieces of silicone inlay sheet that I have cut to size. This is Forest, one of the pieces that I do sell on toonpish.com. Now, I have actually covered this half circle piece in resin. It was off screen, unfortunately. It was right up the top, so I cut it out of the video. But I covered it in resin, and I'll show you what I did on the next one properly so that you can see. And I apologise for the fact that there was no point in showing it because it was totally off screen. But I've covered it in resin. I've put it upside down onto the resin that is in the mould, and I'm just making sure I've got it in the right position. Now, heads up, I do not recommend this now that I've tried a different way of doing it, and I'll show you a better way in a moment. But this is what I did for the first two pieces. Now, bearing in mind, I've been doing this quite a long time, and I always put resin on top. But I tried something different on this occasion, and it worked so much better. So with this piece, I've covered it in resin. I've got rid of any bubbles that I could possibly see. I squirted it with the isopropyl alcohol, and I've laid it upside down on top of the wet resin. And you can see I'm trying really hard to get out some bubbles that have got underneath. I don't recommend doing it this way. Now I know that there is a better way, and I'm going to show you with the top piece. But it does work. It does work. It gives a really lovely pattern on top of this resin that is going to cure with the pattern. And it's a great idea to do it, but not this way. I'm faffing around trying to get out little bubbles all over the place. And although I do get out a lot, I still get a lot of bubbles in this. Now I've tried it, this is what I recommend you do. You squirt the inlay with isopropyl alcohol. It's a lot less messy, and because it's wet, you can lay it on top of the resin and there's no bubbles. I didn't have to try to get out any stuck bubbles because the inlay is wet with the alcohol. There's no air underneath it, and it's a much better way to do this. And I'm glad I tried it because it really did make quite a difference. This was definitely a light bulb moment, and I'm over the moon. Now, with the rest of the resin, I am going over the top of the cured pieces of Magic Pour. I'm trying to blend in the resin and the Magic Pour on the back of these pieces. I figured it would actually seal in the Magic Pour as well. So that's what I decided to do, and I did it with all three of these pieces. By the way, I just want to say a quick hello and welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It does not cost a thing. It definitely helps my channel out. And a thumbs up is really appreciated. That shows the YouTube that you're enjoying the content, and it will push the video out so that new people get a chance to view the content that I create. And that will definitely help me out a lot too. "24 hours later and I can demold, and I'm so excited to see these pieces. First off, I'm going to demold the small top shelf, and the resin has creeped underneath, and I actually really like how that has come out. In my eyes, it joins the resin to the eco pour. It does need a good clean up around the edge. It's time to take the silicone out. Removing the inlay sheet from the back has given me an amazing pattern on the front. Now, I didn't think about this, but this is actually the back because it's the bit that sits on top. So the pattern is on the top. This is the underneath. Very confusing. That confused me quite considerably, actually. Moving into the stem. Now, I know you're going to see both sides of this stem because it's going to be the centerpiece. That's another reason why I wanted to use translucent colour, so you can see through the pieces and get a view of the same pattern both sides. And I'm happy with this top. I'm also very happy with the underneath. It definitely needs a good clean up, and I will do that. But removing the silicone inlay, and there were no bubbles in that, and I am so happy that I've found that is a better way to put your inlay in. You can see through the red to the pattern, and I absolutely love it. And the big base. The moulds are fine, by the way, they're all perfectly fine and can be used again and again. There are quite a few bubbles in this piece. Micro bubbles, but bubbles nevertheless. Again, the resin has soaked underneath of the magic pour and soaked into the magic pour and has given it a really dark red colour. I'm going to seal these resin pour pieces, and that will bring up the colour to a darker red anyway, but I really like how these pieces have merged together. When I first started these moulds, I knew I wanted half magic pour and half resin. I do like that combination. The silicone inlay came later, but I'm so glad I went off in that direction. The pattern on the resin has just made it a lot more special for me. It's a shame the two reds are completely different. The ruby is more pink, and maybe I should have used a pinker red in the translucent resin, but I still love it. Cleaning up around the outside edge with a deburring tool really does help. When you use inlays, you can get a little bit of overpour, you can get rough edges, so deburring tool is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Especially long straight edges is a lot easier than round edges, but it still works, and I'm really happy with this, even though I split my glove. Now it comes to sticking the pieces together. I've made sure they fit. I did have to grind down a couple of the areas where the magic pour had resin on top, and it made the joining parts too thick. So that is something definitely to remember. The openings are in the moulds are the right size. So if you overpour and your pieces are too thick, they're above the opening on the mould, then they won't fit together. So I did have to scrape the resin off a little to get them to fit. I'm using UV resin glue from Let's Resin. It's a kit for bonding together. Now it does need light to cure, and I know this piece, which is the second piece I made from the same mould, is not see-through in that area, but the UV light can get down in those cracks and it will cure it. So once I'm happy that it fits, I fill the area with the UV glue and I use the torch, which comes with the kit, to cure it. It only takes 10 seconds to cure and it is well and truly stuck. There is no way this stuff is moving, but if it had a light source through it, it would cure better, without a doubt. And I think this piece has come out exactly how I wanted. It is unique. It has definitely made me think about what I'm doing. There's 3 different techniques. We've got the barrier technique with hot glue. We've got the marbling effect with the ruby in magic pour. You have two-tone resin with a silicone inlay pattern. I've bought some flowers and I absolutely love this piece. So this mould set definitely gave me inspiration to make something I was not expecting. And that's what those boxes are designed to do. The links for Resin Molds Express is in the description box below in case you're interested and want to find out more. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's given you inspiration in itself. I've really enjoyed making this piece and I hope you have enjoyed watching. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.